Hello, my name is Nell and I have things to say. It's been crazy trying to film this video today. I've tried like over a dozen times to start. Everything is telling me not to film this video. I kind of made really good progress, then my camera battery died. So I filmed it on my webcam and then I didn't really like the quality, and then I charged my camera battery and then tried again, and then I stuffed it up and then I tried again, and then my card was full once I was like going pretty well. So I should probably just stop trying, but I'm going to try again. Universe be damned. I'm going to try again because I want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about it, but I want it to be talked about. So, okay, so from the title you can tell that I'm going to be covering some uncomfortable topics. Title says, periods and PTSD, why I'm getting an IUD. Catchy, huh? And yes, this video is about my decision to get an IUD, an intrauterine device, and why I'm getting that. And I want to talk about it because I know I'm not alone in this experience. I know I'm not alone in my reasons for going through this experience, and I would like it to be talked about. However, it's also very confronting to talk about. Even just for myself, thinking about it is confronting. So with that in mind, I have a friend with me. His name is Bartholomew. I made him 10 years ago and then his legs fell off, and then I recently mended him. He inspired my nails, he inspired my look. So he's just going to be with me and I'm going to cuddle him. And I'm hoping that I can take him with me when I get my IUD. So, an outline for what I'm going to be talking about today so that you can actually decide if you want to stick around and watch. I'm going to be talking about periods, about bleeding, about pain, about discomfort. I'm going to be talking about disability and how it relates to those things. I will be talking about the IUD. I will be talking about PTSD, specifically as it relates to my experiences with sexual trauma. And I will be talking about a condition called vaginismus, and I'll be talking a bit about body dysphoria. That's what we got on the menu today. I completely understand if you don't want to stick around. It's going to be intense, and especially if you know me, this might be a little more than you want to know. I completely understand if you don't want to stick around, but if you do, I do ask you to be respectful and compassionate, because these are really difficult things to talk about, and if you want to engage with me in the comment section, please be respectful. Don't make it any harder than it needs to be. So, I am getting an IUD. My appointment is in 2 weeks and I'm getting it done at the local hospital. For a number of reasons, a lot of people are able to get them done at the doctor's office. That doesn't work for me, and I will go into those reasons soon. But firstly, why am I getting an IUD? My periods have always been horrible. Like, I think I'm probably dying. Horrible. I didn't know that wasn't okay. I started getting my period when I was 16, and they were always very irregular. I always had a lot of heavy bleeding and clotting and a lot of pain, back pain and vaginal pain and stomach pain. They were always just really tough. But my mum, she never had many issues with hers, so she didn't really warn me that things could be that way. And from her generation, you just didn't talk about it. And even when I was at school, if I said to a teacher that I had to stay home from school because I got my period, she would say, well, half the people in this class get their periods and they don't skip school. Like, get over it. And I didn't realize that everyone was different. I honestly thought that everybody else felt like they were carrying the fetus of the devil, and they were somehow just strong enough to handle it. I didn't realize that for some people there was discomfort. There was there was discomfort, but it wasn't horrific. So I didn't know that I could talk about it. But I do want you to know right now, if your periods are really uncomfortable and painful and unmanageable, please see your doctor. You do not have to put up with that crap. See your doctor, ask them what they can do, and ask them to check you for certain things. Ask them to check you for hormone imbalances, check you for things like endometriosis or polycystic ovary syndrome. Get checked, because you shouldn't have to deal with really horrific periods. They're a natural part of life if you have functioning ovaries, but they should not stop your life completely whenever you get them. When I was in my 20s, I talked to my doctor and I said, hey, I really am sick of like thinking that I'm going to die giving birth to a parasitic alien baby every month. Can we do something about that? And so I got on the pill, and that was good. It regulated my periods, so they were expected, they were on a schedule. That was great. I still had a lot of pain though, and as my physical disabilities increased, periods became more unmanageable, even just from the cleanliness side of things. So I have pain conditions, and so period pain plus pain conditions made things pretty awful, but it also meant that managing all of that was more difficult. It's very difficult to manage period pain when I have to stay in a certain position all the time because my body can't move any other way. It became very difficult to keep myself clean and hygienic, again, because I can't move. It was very difficult to be changing pads and to look after my underwear because I can't move much. And so it just kept getting more and more difficult. And I was aware that my trauma was also really making my period a lot more difficult to handle. I didn't really realize how much it played a part until I was really getting therapy and started to voice these feelings. And I'm going to go into that now. So, come here, Bartholomew. Okay. I was in, many years ago, I was in a bad relationship. Like, it's not a bad relationship. It was an abusive relationship. I'm still caught in that mindset of, it was a bad relationship and I was a bad partner. And so I deserved everything. No. It was an abusive relationship. It was a piece of crap. It was emotionally abusive, it was psychologically abusive, and it was sexually abusive. Sexual abuse can bring out all sorts of pain and discomfort, very, very physical, real pain and discomfort. And I realized that whenever I had my period, my PTSD dreams would just come to the fore. I would wake up and when I hadn't really realized, oh, I have my period, I would wake up in pain and I would wonder what had been done to me during the night. That's when my brain went. I would get that vaginal pain, that ache, and I would think it would make period pain would make me feel like I've been abused. And I didn't really realize that that's what was going on. I talked to my counselor about it, and my counselor works predominantly with people who have been through abuse. I first started seeing her through Victim Services, funded 22 sessions with her before she became my regular therapist. And when I was talking to her about this, she said, actually, it comes up a lot with people who have been abused, then not being able to handle it, but being very, very traumatized and re-traumatized by their periods. Let's just look at it in a different way. Imagine that something really, really bad happens to you at a certain part of town. And every time you drive past that part of town, your stomach drops and your heart starts to race and your chest gets hot and your breathing gets short and you just get terrified because you think it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. I'm in that part of town and nothing good happens in this part of town. For me, anytime I have to honestly deal with anything to do with gynecological stuff, I feel like I'm in that scary part of town because bad things happen there. I don't want to go there because bad things happen there. And periods force me to go there. They not only force me to go there, but physically there are real physical reminders that trigger my PTSD and make me afraid and make me think that something as bad has happened to me, even though I haven't seen this person in over a decade. So that plays a huge part in why I'm getting an IUD. Okay. Because I don't want to, it's just one thing that I don't want to have to deal with. And I don't want to have kids, so like it being a contraceptive, that works perfect. I'm also not sexually active. So like I don't really need the contraceptive part of it. I just want the periods to stop because I can't deal with that. And they're so traumatic every time they happen. I also have some body dysphoria around, like I have dysphoria around my gender. I haven't really talked about this much publicly, but around my gender, about how I perceive my gender, and particularly the genderedness of my body. And so again, having to deal with that area of things is really upsetting and distressing. It's like I'd rather not acknowledge that I have a vagina, so the fact that my vagina makes its presence known every single month, loud and clear, I'm like, dude, shut up. I'm like, you're not invited to this party. So that's another aspect of just kind of wanting to lessen the amount of distress and trauma I'm forcing myself to go through simply because my body functions a certain way. I will be getting my Mirena IUD inserted in a day procedure at hospital. A lot of people, mostly you get this done at your gynecologist's office, and you're able to do that like in their office in their stirrupy chair, the place we all know and love. I can't do that partly because I'm physically disabled, and that makes access very difficult. But another reason is because my trauma has led to something else happening. I have a condition called vaginismus. It's a psychosomatic disorder where basically your vaginal muscles contract at any possible threat, particularly threats of insertion. Let's see how I can explain this. Basically, if you have vaginismus, your vaginal muscles go into a severe stranger danger mode. So like anything that threatens to get inside you, stranger danger, you shall not pass. It'll just clamp in there and not let anything in. Which, you know, it makes it difficult to visit the gynecologist because stranger danger. It also makes it difficult for people who are in relationships and they want to be intimate with their partner because they might want to be intimate, but their vagina is still saying stranger danger, even though it's somebody that they know and love and trust. It also means, you know, tampons, stranger danger. Cleaning yourself, stranger danger. Putting on underwear, stranger danger. Thinking of my abusive ex, stranger danger. There's one for you, buddy. Is that a compliment? I think of you and my vagina closes up in terror. Well done. So this makes it pretty difficult, as you can imagine, to get inside and perform certain functions for my gynecologist. The only way that they can do this is by anesthetizing me to an extent. Now, I'm still going to be learning next week at my pre-op where the anesthetic happens, because my gynecologist was saying something about how they still have to get in and then anesthetize the cervix. And I said to her, have fun getting in there, because I had to have an internal ultrasound a while back where they found out that I had a tilted uterus. So my uterus is tilted towards the back, which increases my period pain to no bounds, and that was interesting to learn. But when they did that, I was in there with my mother and with a worker. I was in there with a teddy, and I was crying because I felt like I was being raped. And the radiographer felt so bad because we knew we had to get inside, and I was saying to her, like, my insides are not going to let you in, just keep going. And she had to kind of force, and she felt so bad because she didn't want to force, but like literally my muscles were just clamped up, like it wasn't happening. So she did have to kind of force things in. So it's really difficult for medical professionals to deal with this because I don't have control over those muscle contractions. I don't. Been in therapy for 10 years. I can't, like, I just think about anything and stranger danger. And so when a medical professional tells me to relax, I think I actually can't. I don't know how, because you're at my bits. And I cannot tell them to relax while you're still near them. If you leave, then they'll relax in a week or two. But right now, buddy, relaxing is not an option. Yeah, so that's why I'm getting it done at the hospital. I'm looking forward to having this done. I'm not looking forward to it being done. I'm looking forward to it just being finished. And I know that I have to be aware that for quite a few months afterwards, my periods will probably go back to being irregular and unexpected and heavy, while the hormones settle into my system. And I'm nervous for that, but at the same time, I'm incredibly excited. Is that the word? I'm really looking forward to a future of no periods, a future of less trauma triggering. Just one less thing to make me depressed. One less thing to make me frightened. If you have things like this, if you have sexual trauma that make your periods really, really difficult to handle, if you have things like vaginismus, which makes like tampons and even pads difficult because stranger danger, please talk to your gynecologist. I mean, it does mean it's a contraceptive, so if you want children, that will interfere. But if it's something where you really, really, really struggling, please talk to your gynecologist about your options. Because you don't actually have to, I never opted into periods. I don't want kids, so I don't really need them. I would like to cancel my subscription, please, and now I can. Because the subscription was very, very traumatic and made me feel awful things. So that's what's happening. I'm very nervous to get it done, and I'm hoping that I will be able to bring a stuffed animal with me. Because I have to squeeze something. But yeah, that's that. Thank you for listening. If you're going through this, please talk to somebody. Find yourself a counselor who understands sexual trauma. You can do things. There are things you don't have to deal with it. You shouldn't have to deal with it. And traumatic experiences in my past shouldn't have to be forced back into my brain every month just because I have ovaries. They're not invited. Okay, I'm okay. I'm gonna go eat some chocolate. Thank you for listening. Yeah, stay safe and take care of yourself. All right, bless.